presenting the 235-member Michigan marching band. And take the field.
Hold on. Let's do that over again.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 235-member Michigan marching band. And take the field. Under the direction of Professor Jamie Elnix, the N Fanfare.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. First of all, please like the stream, please share it, and please subscribe to the channel. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App is below. It's a Friday. It is November 13th. It's November 13th, 2020. I want to thank everyone who's there in the chat right now. I want to thank the 3 eyeballs that are viewing right now. I suspect this will go up just a little bit. I don't know who's going to come in during our little Friday lunchtime ritual here. As I was listening to those songs, I was just, thinking that I was thinking about the state of the program and the turmoil that we're in, and just hearkening back to the days when those songs really made you feel good inside, especially the victors. Of course, we haven't been feeling very, very victorious lately. So I'm going to jump right in. Please bear with me. I didn't sleep well last night, but I'm going to try to power through this. I see Alex is here, so he'll probably come up and give his 2 cents. Interestingly, Alex's team is not playing tomorrow because of the bug. So it was speculated last week that this would be a bye for us, but the whiskey program said, we're going to get this game in against Jimmy's team. So Ohio State's not playing tomorrow, and it turns out that our maize and blue looks like my unofficial show producer is here, Abdul Gaines. Let's see what Abdul Gaines has to say. He always has hot takes. Michigan is simply playing out the string right now. Wisconsin hasn't played in forever, and they're still ranked ahead of Michigan. Michigan is Iowa. That's something that Abdul Gaines likes to say, that in terms of the productivity of the program and its level of competitiveness, it's kind of on par with the Iowa Hawkeyes now. Hey, does Kirk Ferentz still coach that team? I know he was embroiled in some sort of controversy this year. But the whole point of Abdul Gaines' statement here is that Iowa is a program. They're not a perennial power like Alex's Ohio State Buckeyes is, where they win every year. Iowa, they have like a couple of down years, and then they get really good, and then they kind of, peter along, then they get really good. And so Abdul Gaines is saying that Michigan is kind of like that now, though a lot of people would argue whether or not we have any really good years left. I see some more folks are coming in. I appreciate you guys being here. You guys could be anywhere on your lunch break besides being here with me talking about Jimmy, Don Brown, Josh Gaddis, and the maize and blue. So I'm going to grab my football. Well, first of all, speaking of Jimmy, I got my Jimmy bobblehead, my limited edition. This is going to be a collector's item one day. And, of course, Jimmy's all-time quote, amongst others, is, "Who's got it better than us?" This is going to be worth money someday. It might make me a millionaire. So I'm going to grab my football here. So I'm just going to take us through some Wolverines talk, and then I like to get into the look at some of the stats from the previous game. Wisconsin only played one game, so we can only go off of one game that they've played in terms of their statistics. And then I like to show the spread, usually from a CBS Sports line, and then I'll conclude. Alex normally likes to come up into the stream and put his 2 cents in, and if anyone else wants to come into the stream, you all are welcome to do so as well. So I'll start with this. It's been a very, very busy week for the Wolverines. I'm going to show some articles here. One of the articles I actually shot a video on, but these articles come to my smartphone. And this one is from the Detroit Free Press. And no, we don't want this Thanksgiving sale. No, we don't want to allow this. We just want to see the title. So this article is entitled Michigan Football's Jim Harbaugh on his future. Jim says, I'm not answering that question. So clearly Jim is hearing the rumors and the discussions about him and the program. And according to that, it says he doesn't want to talk about that right now. You know, it's in season, even though he's probably thinking about it. Maybe he doesn't want to talk about it. So stop the screen share here. Let me see what Abdul Gaines said. Abdul Gaines says, yeah, Ferentz still coaches Iowa. Yeah, he was embroiled in some sort of racial thing out there with some of the players. And I think some of the players actually sued the University of Iowa. So Jim said he doesn't want to talk about his future right now. There was another one over here. If you recall last week, Aidan Hutchinson left the game early. I didn't really know why he left the game, but it turns out that Aidan Hutchinson fractured his leg. So that's a huge blow for our defense, our struggling defense, because going into the season, the strength of that defense was supposed to be its front seven. Abdul Gaines has weighed in again. He says they filed a lawsuit. But before that, he said Indiana has it better than Michigan right now. And Taylor Watson said Jim doesn't want to beat Ohio State either. LOL. That's a joke. Vic Rackham says Jim just doesn't have the same spirit as he did in 2015 and 2016. And, you know, that's a good point. Before I shot my video on Don Brown this week, I was going to shoot a video just on that. I am a bit of a historian. I'm a writer myself, but I like the history of sports as well. And I did point out over the last 2 weeks that Jim does look visibly aged and visibly tired, kind of like coincidentally, a president after serving 2 terms, because they say that, you know, presidents, when they go in, they look a certain way, and then due to the gravity and the magnitude and the stress of holding the position, they look aged, or they age when they're in office. And I would argue that, and I think Vic feels the same way, that in the 6 years that Jim Harbaugh has been in Ann Arbor, he has aged, just probably from the stress of the whole thing, not beating Ohio State, not beating all of his rivals consistently, the atrocious record in the bowl games. Yeah, I mean, that would probably age me as well. You know, so for all the loyalists, you know, we have a Michigan fan base that's very, very loyal. I'm thinking of James Lepick. He's one. I think it's disheartening to hear talk like this about Jim. I don't say these things to bash Jim. I want to see Jim succeed. I want to see the program do well. But I'm also a realist, and I also believe in talking about things objectively and critically. And no, he doesn't have a winning record against his rivals, and he's 0-for-6 against Ohio State. And I imagine that's got to take a physical toll on whomever. So, you know, you have half the fan base who's rooting for Jim and who loves Jim, and then the other half of the fan base are the Abdul Gaines crowd. Here, I call them the Tiki Torch crowd, the crowd that wants Jim out of there. So let's go back. Alex says, it's hard when you keep getting beat every year. Yep. And Vic says, as a U of M student, I'm looking forward for basketball and ice hockey now. Are they going to play? Yeah, let us know if they're going to play. I haven't, focused on the basketball team or anything like that. So let us know if they're going to play football and hockey. So there's that article. This article, and all these articles are going to be in the description box below in case you guys want to read them. My smartphone gets these articles on a daily basis. It's hard to keep track of all of them. But this one is really going to make you raise your eyebrows. And probably for Alex and Abdul Gaines, it's probably going to make you guys laugh. But it turns out that even good old Herb has had something to say. And this article reads, Urban Meyer criticizes Michigan and defense. I'm taking that comma to mean he also has critical words for the defense. So let's see. Vic says we are playing ASU tomorrow in hockey. Okay, so it looks like they're going forward with the winter sports as well. I did not read this article. It's in the description box below in case you want to read it yourself. But it just seems like everybody's coming for their pound of flesh. Whether it's Jimmy or Don Brown. I have one more here. And this one is involves our defensive backs coach, Mike Zordich. I did read this one. And this one is from USA Today, and it says why Michigan football is struggling early in the secondary. And Zordich basically said, it's technique. There are a few things that our corners aren't doing. Some of them are coming to, the line of scrimmage and they're setting up wrong. And that's basically impacting how they're defending the wide receivers on the routes. So I never played defensive back, so I was only able to piece together some of what Zordich was saying. But his basic take on this is that a lot of this is basically technique. And, with them cleaning up the techniques, they'll be able to defend the wide receivers much better. But the video I did shoot this week, which I just had to shoot, was this video on Dr. Defense. And you can go back and look at that video. That video got about 1,700 views. And that was based on an article saying that Don is blindsided by the comments and all the criticism that the program is engulfed in on the outside. And it was in the article, Don says that, these are the things that are happening to the defense are easily fixable. And he says that Jim is a perfect coach. He can't understand why Jim is being criticized the way that he's being criticized. And that's interesting because I know that within Schembechler Hall, they're probably trying to not listen to everything everyone is saying. I imagine it's hard not to hear what people are saying, but that statement by Don does communicate a level of being disconnected from how the fans feel about the program. It's a COVID year. The team did suffer some losses. One of the main losses was Ambry Thomas. And if Ambry Thomas was in there playing that corner position, in all likelihood, we would not be racking up the penalties and, giving the other team first downs the way we are. But right now, it kind of looks like a complete shit show. I didn't watch Steve Dace's video. I saw that Steve Dace recorded a video on the Michigan podcast, which basically said, we're bleeding out. So, and I can look at the expression on Steve Dace's face on that thumbnail, and I could see that, that was going to be a morbid video. So those are some articles from the week. That's the video that I shot this week, and that's kind of where the program is now. Our program has fallen out of the rankings, and Wisconsin, interestingly, after not playing for 2 weeks, they're still ranked. So what's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But certainly the last 2 weeks against Michigan State and Indiana are not good signs. I'm going to read this comment here by Vic. Vic says, I really want Zordich to succeed, but I feel that when recruits see our corners struggle, they might not want to show up. We really need Damani Jackson and Will Johnson in the class of 2022. Yeah, that's the one of the hard parts about the college game, and Alex has been very good about kind of filling in this part of my broadcast, is that it's not just the game on the field, but the recruits are watching across the country. They're watching to see how your team performs. The recruits are looking to see which other recruits are coming. The recruits are looking to see how well your coaching staff coaches. And, when you're putting out performances like this and you lose to your main rival 6 years in a row, the recruits are looking at that and they're making decisions about whether or not to come. I'm going to read what Abdul Gaines here has to say. There's a level of quit among various Wolverines in recent years. Rashawn Gary, Karan Higdon quitting on us before the Peach Bowl. I never knew that. I got into it online with Higdon's dad that time. Wow. Okay. I text with Abdul Gaines all the time, and he never shared that before, or maybe he shared it and I just didn't listen, but I never knew that. So yeah, in this social media era, the fans can say things about the student athletes, and the parents get in the fray, and but that's the pattern that's been happening with our team probably since the 2016 Wilton Spate JT Barrett first down team. We're in an era today where if the players have their eyes set on going to the NFL and your team is not in the college football playoff, a lot of your top players are not going to play in the bowl game. They're just going to say, you know what? I'm not going to get hurt. I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to go, get ready to, try out at the NFL Combine. So, and Jim has seen a lot of his players do that, because look what happened to Jake Butt off that 2016 team. Jake Butt got hurt in the bowl game. I mean, he's fortunate that he was able to recover and still go pro, but a lot of Jimmy's recruits and his players and his most senior veteran players, when they found out they're not getting in that college football playoff, they say, you know what, that's it. I'm done. It's been fun, but I'm going to the league. So let's talk about tomorrow's matchup with the Badgers. So, hey guys, keep your fingers crossed. Wisconsin, their team got taken down by COVID-19. Let's keep our fingers crossed that their team doesn't come down to the big house and infect all of our players with COVID-19. Though, as Alex said last week, maybe that would be a good thing because it would wipe away our having to play Ohio State in mid-December. I don't know. So let's take a look at some of the stats from our loss last week to Indiana. And then we'll look at Wisconsin's one game against Illinois. It was Illinois. I'm going to blow this up a little bit so we can see it. Okay. So last week, the Wolverines lost a painful game to watch down in Bloomington against the Indiana Hoosiers. Let's see, Indiana pretty much dominated that game. They won the first quarter and the second quarter, and then in the second half, it was pretty much even, but we couldn't catch up. We couldn't make up the ground. I believe that's a 17. Yeah, we couldn't make up that 17-point difference. Let's look at the stats here. So for Michigan, Joe Milton threw for 344 yards. He went 18 of 34, and he threw 3 touchdowns, but he threw 2 picks as well. And he almost got called for a fumble, but the refs called it a forward pass. So he took a hit and, almost turned the ball over there. So he went 18 for 34 and threw for 344 yards. It's kind of deceptive because in the first half, he didn't get much done. There were some drop balls, but he seemed to settle into a rhythm in the second half, but it wasn't enough to make up that 17-point gap. In terms of rushing, and we saw this against Michigan State as well, we did not get anything. We did not get much out of our running game, and that's problematic because it plops most of the responsibility for carrying the offense on our young quarterback. Now, we also know that Ryan Hayes and Jalen Mayfield were out last week. So, our offensive line was banged up, but the net of it is that most of that offensive game fell on Joe's shoulders. Ronnie Bell had a good game. Cornelius Johnson had a good game. And then, it kind of went down from there. Looking at, I should log out of Facebook here. Looking at Indiana's production, the key thing I think is the production by Michael Penix. Michael Penix put up nearly identical stats to Rocky Lombardi the previous week. Michael Penix went 30 for 50. So he threw the ball quite a bit, which ideally you don't want, but he put it up and he threw for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. So he basically last week, as I was watching the game, we didn't get a lot of pressure on him. And he was basically able to sit back and do what he wanted, but we also gave up a lot of yardage and penalties. So until the Wolverines figure out how to, until they figure out Vincent Gray's technique and Jamon Green's technique, or they alter the scheme in some way, teams are going to keep attacking those corners. And now Aidan Hutchinson is out, so we've lost some of the teeth in our pass rush. In terms of rushing, Indiana's leading rusher was Stevie Scott. He carried the ball 24 times for 97 yards. And then in terms of their passing game, in terms of their wide receiver core, Ty Freifogel, again, I've never heard that name before. He caught 7 receptions for 142 yards. So he had a monster game, just like the kid from Michigan State the previous week. And then Wap Filior. I've never seen a kid with a name Wap before. He caught 11 balls for 79 yards. So our defense, the net of it is our defense is vulnerable through the air. And until they figure out, until that technique improves or until they adjust the scheme, you're going to see a lot of that. A lot of the same. Alex says, conspiracy season begins, LOL. So I'm going to look at Wisconsin's one game and see how they did. And then I'm going to show the spread, and then I'll open it up, and then we'll wrap up. So share screen. Wisconsin football. Okay. So Wisconsin, for their one game before COVID overtook them, they destroyed Illinois 45-7. So Wisconsin can move the ball and put up some points. In that game against Illinois, they won 3 out of the 4 quarters. Let's look at the Badgers. So Graham Mertz went, 20 for 21 for 248 yards and 5 touchdowns. So just looking at that is looking to me like he's going to carve up our defense like a Thanksgiving turkey. Just looking at that. Assuming he plays, assuming he's recovered from his COVID. Because I think he was one of the first kids to test positive for the virus. Looking at their running game, not too impressive. But they got production from multiple guys. Their leading rusher was Garrett Groshek with 13 carries and 70 yards. Looking at their wide receiver core, they got balanced production from their wide receiver core. Their leading receiver was Jake Ferguson, 7 receptions for 72 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Graham Mertz was looking his way for a good amount of that day. Denny Davis had 2 receptions for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. And then it kind of went down from there. And this kid, Mason Stoke, caught 1 ball for 10 yards and 1 touchdown. So unless they fixed the technique on those young guys or they adjust the scheme, you can probably expect to see something similar to what we saw the last 2 weeks. Let's take a look at how Brandon Peters, remember him? Let's take a look at how Brandon Peters did against the Wisconsin defense. So Brandon Peters went 8 for 19 for 87 yards. So Brandon Peters, this is nothing to write home about. So, it's only one game. So I don't know if Wisconsin's defense suffocated him or if this was just a mediocre first game for the Illinois passing game. But if this is a testament to how good the Wisconsin defense is, then it could be a long day for Joe and our offense, especially if there's no running game to go along with him. In terms of rushing, they did it by committee. Brandon was the leading rusher. So if Brandon Peters can run 7 times for 75 yards, this looks good for maybe Joe doing something similar. And again, their passing production was not very, very impressive. So Wisconsin's been off for 3 weeks. Our team is struggling. So this could be a repeat of the previous 2 weeks. Lewis Papp asks, didn't Pay get hurt? I don't know. I just remember seeing Hutchinson go out. I'm going to leave the link in the chat. I know Alex likes to come up and give his 2 cents. If Alex wants to come in or anyone else wants to come in, you're welcome to do so. Right now, I'm going to look at the spread from CBS Sports. And I actually looked at it earlier, but I'm going to show it to you guys as well. CBS Sports, skipping down to the bottom. Overall, they're picking Wisconsin, even with a 2-week break due to COVID. They're picking Wisconsin -4.5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 out of their sports pundits here are picking us to win, but it looks like the spread. I don't know if this is coming from Vegas. Someone's picking them to win by 4.5 points. So it's going to depend on what kind of production we get. It's going to depend on a lot of things. Let me take a look. There are no more comments. Yeah, so there's a lot going on now. A lot of questions about whether or not Jimmy will be back. There's a lot of feelings that Jimmy should go. There are clearly holes in our team. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to bring Alex up right now. Give me 1 second, Alex. Let me make sure for branding purposes. Yeah, the right background set. Okay. What's going on, Alex? Happy Friday. What's up, man?
You did that on purpose.
What? The background?
Yeah.
No, man. Hey, I'm learning how to use StreamYard, and for branding purposes, you want to decorate your space a little bit.
I got you. I mean, it's good that we're both on here, so you can't really see the blue or the M. So that's what we're working with.
Yeah.
So you guys, for some reason I thought you guys were playing Rutgers this weekend. So my mistake on that. That was
well, hey, you did predict a bye basically because
I was hoping that's what it was. I was predicting a bye, and you guys are actually going to play. I'm a little scared for you guys.
Uh-oh.
I'm scared. I'm scared for two reasons. If you beat Wisconsin, they've been off for a couple weeks. They had COVID. You're supposed to beat them, right? That's going to be the narrative. If you lose to Wisconsin because they've been wanting to play for 2 weeks and they're hungry, they're going to come out with their hair on fire. That's just going to make things, I think, worse. So I feel like Michigan right now is in a lose-lose situation. And it's unfortunate. So I can say this with a very clear head. Those two corners that you guys were discussing earlier, you're not going to get those guys. You don't have a shot.
Let's go back to that comment.
You don't have a shot, and I can name dozens of reasons why, but I think it's more of what's happening with the program right now versus. I think that's pretty much at the end of the day, what it's going to be about. So, when kids, especially defensive backs, when you're top recruits in your class, there's this, you can go to 24/7 Sports and look it up. Kids who are like high rated 4 stars and 5 stars.
Yep.
They project them to be certain picks in the NFL draft, right?
Yep.
So if I was a kid who those kids are high 4-star athlete, high 4-star corners, why would I choose to go to Michigan? So one of the things that a lot of kids look at is at a particular position, when's the last time they had a first or second round pick? When's the last time Michigan had a first or second round pick at cornerback or safety?
Oh, geez. I don't know.
I want to say Peppers, but I think he was maybe a second round pick. Julius Peppers.
Okay. So then you may be going back to what? Marlon Jackson? One of those guys?
Yeah. So like a lot of guys who play quarterback, those kids are trying to get developed and get to the NFL.
Yep.
So why would I choose to go to Michigan if that's not really what Michigan's for? Like, if that's not their forte, why would I go there? And it's not, I'm just looking at it like from a standpoint, like, for instance, obviously I'm a Buckeye, right? If I'm a linebacker, why would I want to go to Ohio State? Like
Chase Young. Chase Young, right?
He was a defensive end. If I'm a linebacker, why would I want to go to Ohio? Like, if I'm a linebacker, I'm really going to consider, like, where linebackers really go to get developed. You look at
Penn State.
Wisconsin develops linebackers really well. Penn State develops linebackers really well. Alabama, Georgia, those programs develop linebackers really well. So when you're looking, when you're at that tier, you're looking to go developed and streamline straight to the NFL. So I don't think you guys have a shot in hell from that regard. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure Jim's going to be out after this year. There will be parting ways. I believe that. Not because of the national narrative, but his body language says volumes. It says enough. I watched the interview where he didn't want to answer the question. And he pretty much said, hey, if I say this, you guys are going to turn around and say whatever you're going to say. So I'm not going to answer the question. That is somebody from PR directing him to answer the question that way. So, I mean, his contract is up next year, next year. So, when you ask him directly, how long do you want to be at Michigan? And you're not answering that question. I mean, sometimes when you don't, the way you're not answering a question says more than you actually answering a question. And that's kind of what I get from it. So you have that. I mean, when there's turnover in a program, typically you lose recruits. You bring in a new regime, new offense, and yada yada yada. So, I don't see a pathway for those kids to make it to campus. They'll probably end up going to Ohio State because Ohio State develops corners. Just like if they're a wide receiver, if I was a wide receiver, I'd probably want to go to Alabama, Ohio State, or Oklahoma, because those are the programs that are putting wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, so that's Damani Jackson and Will Johnson. Yeah, I can't think of since Jim took over what position that we're known for putting out.
Centers.
Really?
Yes, centers.
Well, I mean, we put in Cesar Ruiz.
That's it.
Okay. Abdul Gain says, I don't see any scenario where Jim is back next season. There's no reason for him to come back. In his 6th season, Michigan is ranked lower than Indiana and gets blown out. I see Whiskey winning by 2 TDs.
I mean, but we don't know. So Illinois is bad, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows Illinois is bad, so we don't know how good Wisconsin is. I think it'll be a competitive game. We'll see. We'll just see. Like, I don't, you keep in mind that if Wisconsin wins this game, they're winning with, I think, their 3rd string quarterback.
Oh, is Mertz not going to play?
He's the 3rd string.
Is he?
Yes. He's the 3rd string.
Okay. All right. Wow, he played a good game, that first game then.
Yeah. I went in and looked, and I was trying to figure out what happened to the other guy who, gave Ohio State some issues in the Big Ten championship last year, because I hated. I think his name is Horn. I think
it was Jack Holm.
Jack Holm. Horn, Jack Holm. He's not the best player, but he's definitely a game manager. Can definitely make some plays with his feet. Good ball player. He's just a good ball player at the end of the day. And he gave us some issues. And I'm seeing this left-handed guy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that guy didn't graduate, because he probably would have went in the draft somewhere. And I didn't see him in the draft. And then I went back to the draft, and then I looked on Wisconsin's website, and I saw that he got hurt. He hurt his foot, I think it was. I think he hurt his foot. And then the other guy who was behind him got hurt. And then the guy who was starting was a 3rd string. I'm like, a 3rd string did that? Like, even if you're playing Illinois, a 3rd string should not be doing that. And Wisconsin's not known for their explosive plays more than 20 yards. That's not what they're known for. They're known for pounding the ball control, play action pass over the top. But like this guy was slinging it around like his hair was on fire. It was great to watch. I loved it. But I don't know. We don't know who Wisconsin is because they beat Illinois. That's like, I mean, it's kind of like beating the New York Jets at this point. Like everybody beats them, but we don't know what type of team that you are until you beat somebody else. So we'll just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see. I'm not convinced either. I'm not convinced on either one of the programs, to be honest with you, yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But like I said, I think he's going after this year.
Okay.
I think he's going after this year. And the pressure might not come from, I don't know if the pressure is coming from inside, but, outside is outside. And I think Michigan fans in general are just delusional, completely delusional.
How so?
You think that if you have a top 10 class, you could, there was a comment a couple weeks ago that, it's easy to become a top program, like the top tier programs in the country. It's not. It takes a lot of building over years of time, tweaking. So it's not easy. You have to have the right fit. You have to have the right culture. Football has to be first. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not easy. It's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing to do. So I think people are delusional, very delusional. I don't think they understand that, like, when you're building a program, so much goes into it. And when you have a team that's been representing the conference for the last, I don't know, however many years, outside of the year they didn't play for the Big Ten championship. That was actually a really good year because everybody had one loss, right? That was a really good year. But outside of that year, they've been representing the Big Ten for 10 plus years, which means you're kind of 10 years ahead of everybody else. So, and I'm talking about consistency over a period of time to be a top tier team. Like, how long do you think it would take for Penn State or Michigan or Wisconsin to catch up to Ohio State? Not only catch up to Ohio State, but then dominate the same way that Ohio State's dominated the conference. Or Alabama's dominated their conference, or Clemson's dominated their conference.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in other conferences. It's not easy to catch up to those teams. It's not easy. I mean, Notre Dame is a good program. They're trying to do it. North Carolina is off to a really good start, but it's going to take Mac Brown some time to catch up to Clemson and their recruiting and their development. So it's not as easy as you think. You might get a win against a team every now and again, but to win a conference every single year, or like 8 out of 10 years, that takes a lot of work. You can't just do it overnight. You can't do it with just one recruiting class. One recruiting class is not going to do it. It's going to take what I mean by one recruiting class, like one recruiting class comes in and then they're gone after 3-4 years, and then another one comes in and then they're gone after 3-4 years. So like one recruiting cycle.
Yep.
It probably takes about 4 or 5 of those to really get your footing. So, Clemson didn't become a juggernaut until year like 5, 6, and the conference was already bad. So imagine if the conference is somewhat good, or you have a juggernaut in the conference with you who you're not recruiting against. Like, it just, just makes things difficult. But we'll see what happens. I'm not going to call a score. I'm going to call it a tie. I have no idea what's going to happen on Saturday. I have not the slightest idea.
Okay, let me go through some of these comments. Ted says Michigan recruiting is going to take a hit. I guess Julius Peppers was the last defensive back taken in the first round by the Browns.
Right. And they traded him. They got him out of there real quick.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He plays for – who's he play for now? I think they traded him to the Giants. Poor guy.
Okay. Abdul Gaines says programs like LSU, Ohio State, and Florida State take great pride in their defensive backs getting drafted high.
You take Florida State off that list. You take Florida State off that list. They've had one dude in the past like 9 years. Take Florida State off that list.
He might be throwing a prime time in there too.
I was 7.
30 years ago?
I was 7.
Yeah. And they do big things in the league. U of M can't say that about any position right now. Offensive line. The Wisconsin quarterback only missed 2 passes last time they played. Extended clips. What's going on? Thanks for coming through. Abdul Gaines says, I have way more trust in Paul Chryst than Jim Harbaugh. Mertz is their starting quarterback, I believe. I thought Mertz was their starting quarterback. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I think that's who's going to start.
Yeah. The other day,
Okay, we just lost Alex. Alex, if you want to come back in. Ted Nahas, whoever it was, he went 28 for 30. Last year, it was Jack Cohn. Let's see. So true. Michigan fans are always delusional. Ted Nahas proof week 1 after beating Minnesota. All of a sudden, this was Hairball's best team. And I'm imagining he could not beat Ohio State. Now look at you. So Ted's talking trash. 2016 was the best team for sure. This year is for sure the worst. This guy and saying teams are 10 years behind, all it takes is recruiting. Teams can turn programs fast if they recruit well. Abdul Gaines says, I wouldn't say Michigan fans are delusional. I think Michigan fans feel that the Wolverines football can do better than being a 3 or 4 loss team. Sour YT predicts Wisconsin wins 35-28, so by a whole touchdown. Jerry's Hunter says, I think our expectations were too high for this team. They're young. Let them develop. Hey, if you're new coming in and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the stream. Please subscribe and like. I'm going to leave the link. If anyone wants to come up and put their 2 cents in, you can do that. I don't know if Alex is coming back. If not, I'm going to read through the rest of these comments and probably shut it down. Let's see. Sarah YT says, I'm a Michigan fan. Yep. This is basically a practice year like 2017. Florida State sucks. Laughing my ass off. Let's see. This is basically a practice year like 2017. That was a rebuilding year. Then we were dominant the next. Somewhat dominant. Jim was way too conservative in terms of the play calling. Florida State sucks. Laughing my ass off. This season might not even play out. States are talking about shutting down again. That's true. One of these weeks could be the last game. So let's see. Our numbers are worse than they were when we first shut down. We got a new president that takes COVID seriously. Yeah, I think Ted's a Michigan State guy. Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James, Florida State right now. What are those defensive backs in the NFL? Ted Nahas agreed. Nope. Mertz, I don't think is starting. Alex says, sorry, had a meeting, had to jump into. Yep, that happens. That happens, especially when you're working remotely. You never know when you're going to get pulled into a meeting. Sour YT says, if Mertz is starting, then it's 42-28 Wisconsin. Holy Reaver 97 says, love the content, doctor. Keep it up. Appreciate that, Holy Reaver. Hey, if any of you guys are new, please like the stream and please subscribe. I think I'm sitting at 442. I'd love to get to 450. Jarius Hunter says, it's so early. It's too early to say this for sure is a bad year. You know, on a year like this, with the player attrition, with this being this COVID year, with no non-conference play, without all of the mini camps in the spring, and then throughout the summer, I'd hate to see Jim leave on a year like this. Because not everyone had, especially on the offensive side, they didn't have the chance to work together. I mean, under normal conditions. So I'd hate to see him go on something like this. But as Alex said, based upon the way he was answering those questions, he might be at the end of his rope. Because being the coach of this program and dealing with the expectations, some would say that Michigan fans are delusional. That's got to take a heavy toll at some point mentally. And I remember when Lloyd Carr retired, he basically said the same thing, that he basically commended his family for enduring all the criticism fans like Abdul Gaines gave him over the years. Abdul Gaines was not a fan of Lloyd Carr. He insisted Lloyd Carr is a 3 to 4 loss coach every year. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard being the head coach at a Power 5 school, but if you're not winning, it's got to be hard being the head coach at the University of Michigan for our football program, if you're not winning. And if you've lost to Ohio State for 6 straight years. And you're falling behind in the recruiting race, and when your top players don't play in your bowl games, it's got to be hard. It's got to be hard. And I don't know that $7 million a year justifies the mental stress. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Ted Nahas says, not a Michigan State fan. Oh, I'm an Ohio State fan. Okay. So that means, based upon what you said, Ohio has a lot of COVID cases now, based upon what you said. So, and hey, Ted, let us know if the game was shut down because of Maryland or because of Ohio. So, because I live here in the DMV, I haven't heard of the cases getting insane in Maryland. Thinking about going up there tonight, actually. Abdul Gaines says, yes, both Jalen and Derwin, especially when he's healthy, are Pro Bowl and all-pro defensive backs. Jalen's with the Rams and Derwin is with the Chargers. Sour YT says, I'm worried about this defense. I'm worried about it too. We've lost one of our top pass rushers, and competent offenses with quarterbacks who can sit back and read the defenses and throw accurately have been abusing Vincent Gray and Jamon Green. So I'm afraid for the defense as well, especially if Mertz was able to put those numbers up on week 1. Jerry's Hunter says, I would like to see Charles Woodson or Desmond Howard as a new head coach if Harbaugh doesn't work out. Well, that's interesting. Those guys are commentating, so I don't know that they've gotten their feet wet at any time since they stopped playing for us and stopped playing in the NFL. I don't know that they've gotten their feet wet in terms of coaching in any shape or form. So that would be a huge jump to go from the broadcast booth right to coaching the University of Michigan. I don't know. Abdul Gaines says Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James are Florida State alums. Ted Nahas says numbers are up to 10 million nationwide. But to answer your question about the Maryland and Ohio State game, Maryland had 10 players test positive. Ted says under the agreement, that means those players Maryland tested positive, they have to sit out 21 days like Wisconsin did. So, okay. So we've been on for about an hour. I've lost my wingman due to a work meeting. I consider Alex my wingman. He comes up here every week. I think what I'm going to do, since tomorrow's game is a night game, I'm not going to feel like going live at 11:30 or 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. So I'm going to set up the post-game live stream for Sunday morning. I think that first Sunday morning post-game live stream was very successful. I don't know if that's because of Michigan State or it's just because people were at home on a Sunday morning and you didn't have anything else to do. So I think I'm going to do the post-game live stream on Sunday morning. I live in California, by the way. Ted says, northern or southern? If we went out, this would be Harbaugh's best year. Wow. Well, Jarius, that means we'd also have to beat Ohio State, which I'm not going there. So I'm going to put up the CBS Sports line spread one more time, and then I'm going to shut it down. I have some more things. I have something else to finish up for my 9 to 5 as well. And the times when Alex has been up here, we've gone a whole 2 hours. So just to recap, 4 out of these 7 sports pundits have picked the Wolverines to win, but this is probably the Vegas betting line here. Wisconsin is picked to win by 4.5 points. The thing with handicapping, I've never understood why the winning team, why they opted to put a minus sign there. I never understood that, but I'm not a handicapper. So I'm going to stop this here. I see a few more comments. Jarius said, would it be his best year in your opinion? You know what, Jarius, I think Jim's just trying to get out. I think he's just trying to get out on a high note. As me and Alex said, I don't know if you've noticed, Jim looks tired from this whole thing. Probably from everything. So I don't, you wonder what's happening in his head right now. Has he already checked out? Is he ready for a little vacation? Is he already thinking about his next job, or does he want to go somewhere and write a book? I don't know, but Jim certainly looks tired and a little bit worn down from this whole thing. Ted Nahas says, the Southern Desert Hot Springs right next to Palm Springs. Well, I imagine that's probably a nice location to be in right now. All right, guys. So that's my pregame live stream for tomorrow's matchup against Whiskey. That's going to be a 7:30 kickoff in the evening. So let's keep our fingers crossed for a Wolverine victory. You know, based upon the way things have gone, it's not quite clear how this is going to go, but based upon Graham Mertz's numbers from week 1 and the way teams have been attacking our defense, it could get messy. It could get messy. I mean, there's no reason to think that maybe it wouldn't. So let's see. If you're new to this stream right now, watching it live, and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscription button. Please like the stream and please share. And the same is true if you're watching it on the playback. If you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App is below this video. And I will set up the post-game live stream for Sunday morning, since this is going to be a Saturday night game. So I'm going to take us out with a Go Blue. And as always, remember, hold on a second. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.